Continuing our look now at the best in children's television. This morning, the new kid, or dinosaur on the block.
So the big purple reptile that kids can't resist.
The big purple dinosaur.
Teaches about love, and it just kind of like soothes the kids.
And always, there's that signature song.
Here we are again, Carey, and I gotta tell you now, every time I hear those three notes, I get chills because you are giving us all of the behind the scenes and inside the suit stuff.
Oh, it's so great to be back, Nancy. So great to be back.
Okay, this is number 2, week number 2. How has your life changed now that finally the world knows that you were Barney?
Oh, it's been very exciting. Really, really cool. The reaction so far to Jeff last week.
Jeff, Baby Bop.
Baby Bop just loved Jeff, and it was so great. And it was amazing talking to a lot of Barney people this week. They just felt connected again, and they started talking to several of them called Jeff, and just like time hasn't gone by. It's just absolutely amazing.
Who have you heard from that you were just like, oh my gosh, old girlfriends maybe, or anything like that yet?
No, nothing like that yet. I have gotten some phone calls from fans, so that's been interesting. People really excited about this.
Well, and I'm excited because I'm going to be able to gather up all of these fan questions as we continue on with Purple Tales, and you'll be able to answer all of these things that maybe I don't think about. But I always want to try to keep you just a little bit off balance, don't I?
Just a little,
just a little bit. Just a little bit. When you think of the work that you did, obviously the people, you've talked about how much you love them and how much they all have meant to you, and what Barney has done to families and children.
Yes.
But what about the music? Because again, it's those three notes, kind of like the Jaws theme. We've got the three notes here, and we think Barney.
Yes. It's kind of, you're going to laugh a little bit, but every time I hear it, I almost want to start doing the movements again.
Oh wait. Okay, wait a minute now.
I got to be careful that I'm saying this, but there's like a reaction to it to go back in that mode of.
What do you mean by movements? Just what can you show us, just very briefly, just real quick, Carey? Just da da da.
It's like my arms are about to, but doing the whole "I love you" and the great big hug and all of that. It was just part each week. Because that was in every episode. Obviously, it was in every episode. Everywhere I went, we did that song, and the kids anticipated because they knew it was coming at some point. So it was just such a emotional moment.
And it might have made some parents a little crazy.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Like anything that a kid's going to do. Yeah.
Sure, but then they see the reaction the kids have, and it's pretty touching. It's pretty amazing.
How important was the music to Barney?
It was very important. It was everything. It was everything. And the thing that's amazing, I did concert tours and sing-alongs for years. The kids knew every song. They knew every movement. They did every song, and that's what's so exciting about today, because our guest today, I met him back in 1995.
Okay.
We had and still do, a theme park attraction at Universal Studios, A Day in the Park with Barney. Mm-hmm. He did the music for that, and then he did 2 tours that I did, Barney's Big Surprise and Magical Castle, and then the TV show with me, over 200 episodes.
So he's the man that we can love or hate as far as the Barney music is concerned. Let's introduce us, Carey.
It's Joe Phillips.
How you guys doing?
Hello, Joe. Welcome to Purple Tales. When you hear those three notes,
I feel like I'm working when I hear those three notes. No, what Carey was talking about, it was in every show, and it was kind of the really nice moment at the end of the shows. Same thing with the tours and the live shows. That was always the big emotional moment of it. That song came up. So it brings back a lot of pictures in my mind, too, when we hear that.
Well, tell us first about how you all met. Where were you in the Barney world at that point?
So I was doing a lot of their PR, their special events. And so I did the opening of Day at a Park in Barney. I went down and did the ribbon cutting and and I helped with some of the actors and some of the training and some of that involved, and got to meet all the people down there in Florida.
Yeah, I was working at a company that was across the street from Universal, and a friend of mine was a producer in the park. And he called me one day and he said, we're doing this attraction, and we'd like to talk to you about doing the music, and it's for a Barney attraction. And I figured the show would be doing it and that kind of thing. And he said, but we'd like to talk to them about you doing it. So he said, would you put together a couple of arrangements of some kids' songs so we can take it down to the creator, Cheryl Leach, and Dennis DeShazer, and play it for them and see if they'd be interested in having you do it. And they did, and he said they heard it and kind of looked at each other and went, that'll work. So that's how I kind of got involved initially in it.
You knew who Barney was.
Yes, I did. I had knowledge of the television show. I didn't have any real affiliation with it at all at that time.
Okay. So then what happened?
Well, then I went on tour. So I got asked to be the lead in the first tour and the second tour. And Joe did all the music. So I think that's where we really, really got connected. And because the tour is all about the music. I mean, it's all about the music. And so finding out what songs we were going to do, and Joe did a lot of different arrangements, and it was very cool.
We were in Will Rogers Stadium.
We were.
In Fort
That's
Worth.
where we opened it.
Oh my.
That was where the soft opening was.
And what happened is when I was working on the attraction, Sloan Coleman, who
Yes.
produced that, got a hold of me and said, hey, I'd like to talk to you about doing this Barney tour thing. So it was really a cool experience because I came down, brought a crew with me, we set up in the arena, and we really assembled the show while it was being rehearsed. So it was being mixed and edited together, and all the pieces put together, because when the rehearsals it would change. They'd change the timing of something, we'd alter everything to be able to work with it. And I even composed some of the music in the arena in a little station I had to work on music.
How did you know that, or when you got it right? How did you know, like, okay, you know what? Yep, this is going to work.
Well, I could see it. It's up on stage. I'm looking at it. Before that, I had to kind of visualize it. The writer, Stephen White, who wrote a lot of the shows
Yes.
and stuff too, we communicated quite a bit before that, just talking about it and what's it going to be and what's it going to look like. And we got a good feel for it, what to do. And then when they started rehearsing, you could see it up there, just big in life, and we just watched the show and say, well, let's try this and try that. So we could kind of try things there.
Had you had music beforehand?
Oh, yeah. I had been doing sing-alongs for 3 or 4 years,
Okay.
which was composed of, I think, like 8 songs, and we would do performances all over. So I had been doing that type of... That's why it was kind of perfect for that, because I had already been doing live performances for years. And used to the rigor of how difficult it is, because it was, what, an hour and a half show?
Yeah, it was with an intermission, but it was a big project. It was a big endeavor. They had just the staging, sets, everything was a huge thing. They brought in Jake Berry to be the
Yes.
production manager, who does the Rolling Stones and Tina Turner.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
So
whoa.
Yes.
Let's go back there.
Yeah.
So this was a Barney stage production done by rock and rollers?
The whole road crew really that did the sound and light and everything were the same people that did the Rolling Stones and
still
U2
do.
and still do.
And still do.
And still do. So it was great because it was just a great bunch of people and people that hadn't worked on it every day. And I was new to it too. I'd done the attraction, but I hadn't done much more than that. But it was interesting to see everybody's reaction to it all because it was very different than what they were used to.
Well, and I was the one person that had been doing it. For the most part, everyone else was brand new. All the dancers, the cast, the music. I was the one person, so I had this new family that we got introduced to in Las Colinas.
And we spent tons of time together. We just about lived in the arena when we rehearsed it. And I'll tell you a story. The road crew, like I said, they weren't used to it. There's some of these were these big burly guys that were hauling stuff around. And
Roadies. They were the
Yeah,
roadies.
I mean, roadies.
They were the roadies that are on the road all year round. So show's rehearsing and they do the "I Love You" song. And it's the end of it. And I'm standing back by the house sound guy, and he's sitting there looking at it, and he goes, "I gotta go call my son." It touched him. And they weren't really used to it. So it was just interesting to see how it kind of affected people and did that.
Let's get a taste of some of your music. For
Okay.
Barney. What is your favorite?
Let's see. Well, there's 2 or 3, and one of them was a song about napping, which was interesting.
NAPPI.
Like-
Let's make sure
like
napping.
it was called the nap
Okay,
song.
the nap
right?
song.
Exactly.
Okay.
About a nap song, but the what they wanted was a song that I think I hear it now. There it is. And the idea was a song that was a happy up-tempo song about taking a nap, not a lullaby.
And it works. I mean,
But,
no.
but the idea was that everybody needs a nap, now and then, and that's what'll do it.
Yeah.
And it was fun because it was different. And the interesting part, back here it comes.
Everybody needs a nap, you see. Close your eyes and sleep peacefully.
And when you wake up in a while, you'll be wearing a great big smile.
Which was the idea. It makes you feel good. It was to feel good about naps, not go to sleep.
Right.
So I was thinking about the song, what I wanted to do with it, and I was on a plane. I used to commute back and forth between Florida and Texas almost weekly, and thinking about the song, and I'm going to write about that. And I got an idea while I was on the plane, and I had nothing to write anything down on, and the only thing I had was one of the vomit bags, from the out of thing. So I took it out and I wrote some words down and stuff, and then when I got in, I wish I had. I don't know what happened to it, but it was they just the ideas will just kind of come to you when they do, and it was like I wrote on that. And I was telling one of the producers that one time, they said, "Oh, I wish I had that bag because that would be a fun thing to have around."
Is there a song, though, that kind of reflects how you feel about music?
Yeah, in fact, this was another song that I wrote, and it's called "I Hear Music Everywhere." And when I got the assignment to write it, it took me a while to kind of figure out what it was, and then I realized it's about me. Really, it's about hearing music and everything. All right, and this is this song.
I hear the wind through the trees, the buzzing of the bees, the rumble of the train, the pitter patter of the rain. Can you hear it? I hear music everywhere.
I'm having a hard time sitting here.
Carey
I want to
wants
start
to
getting.
dance.
I
He
do want
is.
to.
You
Yeah, I do
are.
want
I
to get
can
up and
see
dance.
it.
Spinning around.
I mean, the
dancing.
memories are. It's. I remember this one very well.
Yeah, this was
a
one
great
of the,
song.
in the last, I want to say, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it was a
we're doing
great
what
song.
Do you hear music everywhere?
I
Still?
do. In fact, my mom tells this story that when I was like 3 or 4 or something, we were riding in the car and he was playing music on the radio, and I said to her, the day is so perfect with the sun out and the birds singing and the music playing. I mean, that's really where that song kind of came from, that idea.
What songs did you listen to as a kid? And I want to know if you remember any.
When
music
I
from
was a
kid.
kid, there wasn't, a lot of, it was Mother Goose stuff and rhymes and things like that. There wasn't a lot of kids' music, out at that time. So I remember, Knick Knack, Paddywhack, that kind of stuff. And this
Maybe
old
from
man.
TV shows too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of the theme songs.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
we didn't have a lot of TV shows. There was Mr. Rogers. There was Sesame Street. Maybe it was. I don't even remember. The Electric Company. That's another one I
right,
remember.
right.
Yeah, I watched all 3 of those.
That was done out of Canada, I think. But there weren't a lot of shows. There were just a few children's shows.
Well, it seems like children's music, and because you're dealing with young children and dancing and so
Yes.
on, it can't be too very sophisticated.
No, I mean, children learn and remember through repetition. I mean, hearing things over and over again. I mean, even in the show, we repeated a lot of the songs. We might do a little different arrangement or do it a little different, but they got familiar with that, and that's what got them excited about it.
Well, and the steps, if they were, we did
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
So they would give those to the dinosaurs and then make them simpler steps for the kids. And our kids were all different ages. So sometimes you had younger ones and sometimes you had older ones that could do a little bit more, could get a little bit more.
When we did the tours, we went a little bit higher level because it was a little more family entertainment, and it was on a huge venue because we were in arenas, mainly. So it was really interesting and a really interesting thing. But the television show, we were very focused on repetition, simplicity. We wanted to introduce kids into different kinds of music and things like that. But it was very focused on that. And what I liked about the show is that the show was really based in education. I mean, a lot of ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, a little bit that got into emotions and social issues, but not preachy. It didn't get into preaching about that. It just got into some issues and made them interesting and how to turn it into a positive light. Which I thought was fantastic for kids. Because that's what we want to do. We want to focus on more positive ideas.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Nancy, the first song from the attraction, "Imagine a Place," was just one of my absolute favorite songs.
And that's the first one I wrote for the franchise. And Tony Pugh, who produced the attraction, we wrote that song together, and we wrote quite a few songs
It's
together.
called what? Do we have that one by any chance?
I didn't. I could not find a current version. It's "Imagine a Place" was the name of it, and it was just about imagining.
Can you sing it a little bit?
Hold on a second. Let me think about it. Well, I'll tell you what it was. In the attraction, part of what they did was when you were sitting in the theater, Barney sang this song, and he'd talk about, now imagine it's fall, all right, and the leaves, and they would drop leaves down from the ceiling, and stuff like that, and change the lighting to look more like fall. They even had snow in there. They talk about snow, and snow would fall. So there was all kinds of different things that they did.
Do you remember that song?
I do.
Hum it.
Oh.
Sing it.
Let's see. Imagine a place you want to be. Imagine a place for you and me.
See, you're starting to move too, Nancy.
Oh, well, you can't. I mean, of
see?
course. I love
You-
I mean, but now,
How
but
can
the
you not?
interesting thing is,
Carey
Carey wanted to be a musician, didn't you, originally?
I did.
I mean,
Well,
like,
I was.
I mean, you, oh, sorry.
No, but I was. No, I was. And then this purple dinosaur kind of sidetracked me in a different direction. But
Okay, Joe. Before Barney, and during Barney, you were actually working on movies that few R-rated things, a lot of blood and guts. Name some. You better coming from you.
When I worked at Sound Deluxe, that was mainly what they did. They were a division of a company in Hollywood, so we did a lot of feature films. So I worked on Braveheart. I was a sound designer on that.
Now, what does sound design actually
Sound
mean?
design, when you saw the big battles and all these things are going on, a lot of the sounds have to be kind of put together, whether it's punches or swords swooshing through the air or whatever, different kind of things. And there's different parts of sound editing that does that. There's Foley recording where they actually watch the picture and do footsteps and things like that. And sound designers get in and will put together whether it's horses running or it's wind blowing or it's rain falling or whatever it is to put that together. So a lot of that was battle scenes, and things like that which I worked on. I worked on Pocahontas for Disney.
Oh my goodness gracious. That was a wonderful animated film.
Wonderful animated film. I did a lot of the ship at sea stuff, the sails flapping and wind blowing and, stuff like that. It was a lot of fun. The oddest one when you think of me working on Barney would have been Natural Born Killers.
Yes. That Woody Harrelson. Yep.
Yeah, with Woody Harrelson. And it was a fun movie to work on because it had so much weird stuff in it. The producers of the film just said, just do what you want. Every time something looks weird, put a sound to it,
Yeah.
And so myself and another guy, Pete Lehman, that worked for the company, we just had the job. We spent a month or two just going through the film, looking for weird things and putting weird sounds to them because they weren't real sounds, so they just had to come up with something to make it feel weird.
So it wasn't necessarily music.
No, these
You
are all
were-
sound design.
Sound design. See, that's something I didn't realize what it was by definition then.
So I worked on films. I also was still writing music for commercials.
Ooh, any commercials we'd know?
No, and I did that in Chicago too before I moved to Florida. Nothing you'd remember because a lot of it was someone might write the McDonald's theme, but then a bunch of people would do arrangements of them and stuff like that. So I did some arrangements for things like that and stuff like that. Then let's see, what else was I doing at that time? Really, that I worked on a movie, Time Cop. That was another movie I worked on.
Van Damme.
Yeah,
Jean-Claude.
Jean-Claude
Yep,
Van Damme.
yep.
And my job on that was all the computer stuff. It was lights blinking on computers and stuff like that. And I was just having headaches from looking at the stuff all day. And I have to say Braveheart was the most fun because the movie was so great. And when we were working on the film, we were all working on it. And I think we got to the last reel. It's all divided into reels. And so we're working on 10 or 15 minutes at a time. It was at the end of the movie, and I was headed up in my room, and I was watching, and I turned around, and everybody that worked there was just standing there, like looking at it, just glued to it.
So here's the big question. Who is more difficult to work with, Barney or Mel Gibson?
Well, I never saw Mel, but it really, I've been fortunate. I've just worked for a lot of good people. And, I mean, it's work. It's not singing and dancing every day. But it's very rewarding. I just enjoy it. And like I said, I've been fortunate to be working on a lot of different kinds of things. And Barney would be the most rewarding because I worked on it the longest, but we had a lot of great moments with it. The tours especially, because you got to see the reaction from the kids. When you're doing a television show, you never see that. you're making the show and you're doing it and you're working on it. So I mean, and I'm working on the songs, which were done in advance of shooting, so they have them to shoot to. And then I go back and do an underscore, of all the parts where they're just talking, and I'm putting that under. So I see the shows hundreds of times, But the tour was interesting because I got to see what was going on in the audience with the kids. And it made it really special. I equate it to, I remember walking up, and I think we were in Memphis or something like that, and it was like Woodstock for kids. You know what I mean? When Barney comes out, it's an eruption. I mean, they just go nuts, and you hear this, just screaming and yelling in the arena. And it is. It's like being at a rock concert for kids.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible.
A lot of fun, and I brought a couple pictures so we could kind of see a little bit of the setup, because it was a big setup. I think Zach's going to pop up. The first one I think we're talking about is looking at the arena, and I think we're looking at that's where I was in the arena. The stage would be to the right, and I'm looking up there pretending like I'm doing something, and the house sound guy there. But that's what we did. We set up in the middle of it like that, and while that was going on, we were mixing and balancing everything. I was still working on music that would go into the show at different times because it changed. They're rehearsing, and the blocking might change, the movement might change. So that was our rehearsal mode right there. So next one, I think, is looking at the stage, and it will give you a good idea of what it's like when you're kind of all lit up.
Yeah.
So you can see I'm kind of working at a digital audio console with computers and everything. And I had a crew with me. They were this is probably in the middle of the night. I would take the night shift most of the time because I could get in there and work on music and be quiet. I also had to make a rule after this picture that no one was ever allowed to take a picture of me from behind up above me. Because apparently I'm losing my hair.
Well, that's why we put
Yeah, we
took
care of that for you.
We got that. You almost got it covered.
we got you taken care of.
It was funny. I was losing my hair in my 30s. The first time I realized it, because you don't know when you first start. Right. So I'm at a gas station, and you go up to pay.
Right.
Back when you used to pay and go to the gas station, and they had cameras around, and stuff like that to look at things. So I'm sitting up there looking. They were always kind of back up here so they could tell her. So I'm sitting there waiting for the guy. And I'm looking. I'm like, who is that guy who's losing his hair down? Oh my gosh, that's me. And that's the first time I realized it. But I had to kind of make a joke about because that was a lot of fun. But that gives you the idea. That's just one of the sets that they use. There would be many different sets that would be swapped out throughout
the show.
But now, did you also have anything to do with, or was this all just music, or was there some speaking?
Oh no, there was speaking. It was a full show.
It was like the television show, just in a bigger way. So they were talking, they were singing and dancing. There was a storyline.
Oh, it was a full
that went along with
like
this.
a Broadway production.
Mm-hmm. No, it
So
really
you had
was.
to deal with the voices too, and audio.
Yeah, and what we did was the Dino voices are always pre-recorded. We go and record that in advance because they can't tour with it and do all that. The kids we put on microphones. So they were interacting with what I would build as a show tape that had the music and the Dino voices and everything would be timed out for all the lines and everything. And when the show started, the sound engineer pushed play.
Yep.
And the show would roll along, and we even had little backup things if something went wrong, and that kind of thing, because anything could go wrong.
Well,
What could go wrong?
And it did.
Yeah.
Like what?
So in Magical Cat, see, I'm going to tell you. I'm already hearing stories that I've never heard before, and you're probably
Okay, no,
going to hear
I
some.
may not know about this.
I don't think you do. We were in I can't remember the city, but we were doing Magical Castle, and on Magical Castle they had a mini castle that so as the music starts playing, the opening starts playing, they roll it out, and then Barney would shoot out. There was like a drape, and so Barney would shoot out and go onto it, and so every night, I'm gonna tell you, it was Big H. It was Harold. Was our stage manager, Harold.
And Harold is?
He was our stage manager on that tour and worked with him several tours. And he had there was a black curtain that was over it. And he would come out, release it, and then they would push me out. Well, one night, he forgot to take the black curtain off. And it went out, and I shot out, and I've now got a black curtain on me.
It's like the black hooded Barney comes out.
Yes.
Whoops.
Yes. And so I'm still jumping, and I ran to the side, and it got pulled off of me, and went back and kept going. And then later, Harold's like, "Yeah,
And
sorry about that. I got you later."
I don't know if you remember, we had a fallback. that if everything just fell apart, the sound engineer had one button he pushed, and it played the song John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Yes.
So if that song played,
What is that song?
it's a classic
It
kids
is.
song from years and years ago. And it's a kind of a wacky song, but we just decided, let's get that song. The kids all know it. Whoever can get on the stage will make a little
Sure.
sing along out of it while they
Yeah.
revamp it. It gave them about 2.5 minutes to get it back together. I don't know if it ever got used.
I was going
but-
to ask you that. Yeah.
But that was the fallback. If the curtain falls down or the set falls over or something happens, you hit John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, and then we had a couple of minutes to revamp and get back going again.
You got to understand, Nancy, we were out on the road for 9 months out of the year, just like a Broadway schedule. So we were doing 7 shows a week. So we were on tour buses. Typically, a typical week, we would close the show Sunday, go to the next city. We'd have Monday, Tuesday off.
And
Usually,
you went too?
No, I went. Well, what I did was like those shots you saw. I'd go to the rehearsal arena. That's
Yes.
where we're rehearsing. I'd do that. Typically, what we started doing is the first big show would be at Radio City,
yeah.
and we go to New York, and I'd go up to that one with that one, and we might even be making some adjustments still
Yes.
then. Then I go away after that, and I would just check in every once in a while. If they needed something, I took care of it and got it to them.
And they would all do that. There would be a check-in where our choreographer would come in, just make sure the show is still the same and all of that. But we were gone for 9 months out of the year, 7 shows a week. So typically Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. And, the potential of that having because you can't be sick, you just have to be there every night. And we're on the road. And this was before, all the social media and everything that we have now. So I was just kind of gone for nine months out of the year and then pump back during the summer. And
So I'd be back
Do it
working
again.
here on the television show.
Yeah.
So the television show is still going, all the time.
yeah.
So we keep running away. Got another picture I want to bring up.
Oh, good.
What I had done is I'd started a small company to kind of handle this, and I had several people working for me. And one of the guys is Travis. You remember Travis?
Oh, yeah, very
Travis
well.
is the greatest guy in the world, and he made everything work. I mean, he would come out in advance, get everything working. We'd go to the arenas, and he would put it together. And I had a
And isn't Travis with Yanni now?
he is Yanni's guy right
Yeah.
now. He travels with Yanni.
Yeah, he's with
They
Yanni.
just
Does
got,
Yanni know that he was with Barney?
yeah, because
Yes.
because
Yeah.
we'd have to let like Yanni know we need Travis, for a little while.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they just got back from Uzbekistan. So we're like they travel all
Yeah.
over the world and stuff like that. And Travis are great friends. I've always said, Travis, if I was hanging off a cliff and I could get a hold of one person, I'd get a hold of Travis because he'd figure out how to get me off the cliff. He's just a great guy. But he go ahead and put that up because this was kind of an interesting thing. We had a lot of fun, but it wasn't all Barney related. But this is Travis. I'm not really sure why he's happy about getting a box of butt paste, which is something you use for babies for diaper rash. And but we had a lot of fun. And that's Travis. He's a great guy. He's a fun guy. He was a practical joker. He kept us going and laughing and having all kinds of fun. I mean, just a lot of fun.
And all those guys, became some of my, Pat Sellers,
Pat Sellers,
became
Neil
one
Anderson.
of my really best friends. And on
my-
the TV show, Nancy, when I went and did it, Joe hired my brother.
Yeah.
So my brother worked for Joe.
Casey worked on sound design and editing, and he helped record the pre-records and things like that with us. And I had assistant Stephanie Dalvin who worked on the
Yes.
show. And we were right in the building with them, so we were all working it all the time.
Yes.
Very cult-like?
No.
Okay, I know. I know that's not fair. I mean,
Here's the thing, I said, wait, it was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work.
It was.
I mean, it never ended. I mean, there were, like when we talk about these live shows, I would be in that arena for 3-4 days, sometimes never making it to a hotel, never making it anywhere. Just in fact, when we were Will Rogers, that was the first one. That was probably the hardest because it was the first one. But, Will Rogers does rodeos. Right?
Yep.
that's Fort Worth.
Yeah,
Texas.
Fort Worth,
Yes,
Texas.
yes, yes,
And so
yes.
next to it, there's cattle. All right, that they over here.
They're still there.
Yeah.
So what likes cattle is flies. So at night, for some reason, all these flies would come into the arena.
Yes.
And
Hence the butt paste, perhaps.
yeah.
Who knows?
Well, that was I mean, maybe they like that. I don't know. But we actually had hanging off the equipment stuff, fly strips, to try to catch all the flies. And one night, I wasn't unusual for me to sleep in a road case, and just take a nap. So I lay down and I pulled this sheet over it. And when I woke up, it was dark, and there's lights on it. I'm thinking, why is it so dark, So I pushed the sheet off. It was just flies. It was just completely covered up with flies, So a lot of times we were living in those arenas when we worked on it. And quite a few nights, even working on the show at the studio, I would just go to sleep there, because I knew I had to be right back in and going, because it was a lot of work. And people think a children's show is not a lot of work, but it's the volume. For music, each show had 11 songs. And then each show had underscore that filled every minute that wasn't a song. So if a show is 24 minutes, it's 24 minutes of music that never stops, all right? And that's the way it runs. So it was a lot of work. And it's a live action show, harder to shoot, because there's so many variables, And when you're dealing with a Barney character, Barney's huge. You can't just make a doorway, you got to make a Barney doorway, If you make a step, you got to make a Barney step that his feet can fit on. So it's not...
And it's strong.
Yeah. And you have to really
so I don't go through it. Barney was...
How much did that weigh?
I'm basically 7 foot.
Well,
he's
in the
50
suit.
He's 50.
In the suit.
So he's
Not
50,
in real life.
No, in the suit.
Like,
no,
people are gonna
no,
wonder.
no, in the suit, and then my weight, and add 50 pounds to that, and so I'm doing large. It's the same kind of thing. You're doing large movements. Everything's bigger than life. So when you're jumping, you've got to have a structure that can handle that.
Yeah, and you're working with kids and animals and dinosaurs.
Right.
So it's a very complicated process. A lot of people worked on it, and see, we're not just doing one and finishing. We're doing 20 at a shot. So it's ongoing. A normal week for me would be a music meeting for one show, a score review for another show, a rehearsal meeting for another show. So I might be working on 4 or 5 different shows in the same week. So it's going 7 days a week, and for me it would be 20 shows was a year, because it was 45 to 50 weeks.
Reminiscing about that now, do you kind of like do you wonder how in the world did we do this, that it actually got done and so well?
Well, we had a great system.
We did.
As far as like scheduling and putting it together, and it was already in play when I came in. Because they had done 3 series. And they had it pretty well together. And those were being shot in Las Colinas, at the Sound Studios at Las Colinas. So it was pretty in a working order and stuff like that. It was just a matter of me kind of figuring out the process and how to do it and stuff like that, which became a sink or swim, deal. You're going to learn, you're going to sink. And there were sinking days, sometimes where it was just overwhelming, because other things would come in. They might want to do a CD, so we might be working on that. And I had, like a small company, I had a guy by the name of John Marsden that worked with me. Also did a lot of music for the show, and we worked great together. And through the internet and hookups of computers, we could work back and forth. So I may be here, and he may be at the office in Florida, and we could kind of go back and forth on all kinds of things. So I was traveling a lot, flying back and forth, and which was interesting because I literally, at some points, had a car here, a car in Florida, and was just kind of going back and forth. And I had a corporate apartment here, and just traveling back. And like I said, I just stayed, after a while.
Which, speaking of that apartment, did you not do? I know you did. So Dean Went was the voice of Barney on all of my
Dean's audition.
Dean's audition. Okay. Where was Dean's audition?
Dean's audition was in my apartment in Plano, and I had a studio set up in it. That's where I was working on the show, and I had this closet, and that's where I put people with the microphones to sing in. So it was isolated and had headphones and everything. Dean did his audition. He said to me, he goes, "I'm thinking this is really strange." He said, I get the address and I pull up and it's like an apartment complex. I'm wondering, what is this all about? But the producers came over, and stuff to monitor, see what's going on. But I did a lot of vocal recording out of these apartments I had, corporate apartments.
But see, Dean was the original radio. He did the morning show on Radio Disney.
Yeah.
So he had come from Radio Disney to showing up at an apartment to do an audition.
And what had happened is...
And Barney was huge at that. Barney was really big, and Dean had 2 little girls. So he knew how big Barney was.
Mm-hmm. But we were moving... What happened is they were moving from Las Colinas out to Allen. So it was kind of a transition period.
And all this is North Texas, in case for those who don't know our area. Yeah.
This is all within 20 miles of each other. So they're moving to and starting to shoot some videos out in Allen, and then eventually it went to Carrollton after that. But so it was in the middle of some transition point, all right, and it was in between series, so it wasn't the norm. Usually you didn't just give somebody an address of apartments, they come on in, but the apartments worked so well to record stuff, and we did a lot of it like that because it was simple and easy, and we had a good time. Julie and Patty would
Yes.
come out and stuff, the Baby Bach and
Yeah,
BJ
Julie,
and stuff.
Julie
Baby Bach and
Johnson, Baby Bop, and then Petty Words, BJ.
would
the
come out
voices.
and we'd do CDs, do the vocal recordings for the CDs out there and stuff. So we had a lot of fun.
Yes.
Doing it like that. I want to go back to the tour real quick. Zach, I've got that one last picture of the tour. And I tell you, you're going to think that I'm sleeping all the time
Oh
instead
my!
of working.
And look at all that hair you have there.
I know. I mean, but once again,
But you see the camera angle.
you see the camera, and that was in Waco.
Oh, and look, Barney's with you.
And I'm pretty sure that I didn't put Barney there before I went to sleep. I fell asleep, and I think it was a guy, Brian McPherson, was his name. He was working on the show with me. I think he came in the morning and decided that would be cute. Put Barney up there and take a picture. But I was out. I also want to point out, see that lamp behind me up there? That
kind of gold.
was a gift from Cheryl Leach, and the creator of it. And what's on the lamp, there's music notes, and you'll see it, is actually the song Imagine a Place.
And you still have it.
I still have it. Yeah, it's in my studio right now, too.
Oh, that's nice.
But I really didn't sleep all the time because I told you the story. We were just there a lot, and it was,
Right.
stuff. But we had, like I said, we had fun, but it was hard work. And it was worthwhile, so we all loved doing it.
So were you on an airplane and someone's sitting next to you and they're like, "What do you do?" "I'm a musician. I write music." Did you ever say Barney?
Yeah, here. I was on here, and I was on my cell phone before I got on the plane, and I was talking to, I don't know who I was talking to, but it was about the show. So they heard me talk, the flight attendants heard me talking about Barney, right? So I get on the flight, and I sit down. One of the flight attendants comes up and says, I heard you talking on your phone. Do you do something with Barney the dinosaur? I said, yeah, I work on the music for the show. He goes, oh, that's very interesting. So I see her go up in front of the plane, and she's talking to one of the other flight attendants. And they're talking and this and that. And she comes back, she goes, I was telling my friend what you do, and she thinks we should throw you off the plane. So it was always a mixed reaction,
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
get some people who are like, oh, that's fantastic. And they were kidding around
Sure.
and stuff. But you got both reactions from people. You never really know how they're going to take it.
What's your favorite memory of Barney, or whatever? Where it led, or something?
Well, I have a couple. All right. The first two are opening night, because the first time I saw Barney come out on that stage from the live show and saw the reaction of the kids, it was just overwhelming. I mean, the crew that was with me down there, we were all standing in the back. We're at our station to it, and you could see everyone weeping, a little bit, because it was overwhelming, to see this kind of response and how the reaction of the kids. So that was probably one, and that was early on for me, so that was that really helped me. I hadn't started working on the show yet. It was that opening night. I think the producers came up and said, "We want to start talking about the show." After that, but that really was overwhelming, because I would have never imagined, it to be like that.
And then my favorite
Was meeting
with
me.
him,
Was meeting me, which I understand completely.
with Joe, and absolutely it was that night after the show. We had an opening night party, and Joe got on the piano and did jazz versions of the Barney songs.
I have a vague memory of that. I remember kind
I'll
of doing
never
that. What I
forget it.
remember is that to get to the piano, I had to crawl across the tables in the restaurant. And I started doing that, and the restaurant asked me to stop after a little while.
Wow.
Yeah, I can remember Raindrops. I can remember you doing
I'm
the
sure there's
jazz
something
version of
with
Raindrops.
Mhm.
That was so.
Now, which was Raindrops? What did that sound like?
That was the "If all the raindrops were lemon drops and gumdrops, oh, what a rain that would be." But the kids' favorite part was standing outside with my mouth open wide. All right, that's what because and we did those in the tours every
Yeah.
time. So imagine thousands of kids with doing that.
Yeah, because
sound
they
of-
would drop back and open their mouth to catch the raindrops. So, yeah, and so, but that's a movement that I would know while I was performing that it was coming up, and as soon as I hit that, I knew everyone in the audience they knew it. They were going to do it, which was just so cool.
But that was one of the there's several. Meeting Cheryl Leach was amazing because she was the first person I met that had to do with it. I met her out at Universal. It was just her and I and Tony Pugh and some other executives.
She is the reason why there is a
Yeah,
Barney.
exactly. She
Yeah,
created it, and we went out and had lunch, I think, the next day and started talking and just really hit it off. And she said, "You got to come down to Texas. I want to introduce you to some people." And it just kind of one thing led to another after that. But it really, for me, meeting her, being able that happening first, and doing the tour, I really got a great sense of what it was and how big it was and the purpose of it. I mean, she really talked to me a lot about why she did it, why she wanted to do it. and it really gave me some insight into it. So I quickly jumped on board and went, this is a great thing. You know, I mean, I'm really, really fortunate to be involved in it, and I've always felt that way. Another thing was just the people on the show, meeting the people on the show. Zach, do we have that picture of there's Barney and me, and we were shooting a video, and actually it's interesting because you're going to see Barney, which is going to be Carey in the suit.
Good.
And I'm standing there. It's my granddaughter.
You may not recognize me,
Okay.
Nancy.
Oh, there's me. See, now the interesting part about that's me hugging Barney, but it's also me hugging Carey.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So
No, but that's so lovely. Look at all these kids. That man's smiling back there, and it just, wow.
So what happened is I got
Seven
talked into being in one of the videos as an extra in the
Oh,
background.
you did?
Yeah. And can you put the next one up, Zach? The next one is a picture of Barney and the Purple Tails. That is my granddaughter that I'm holding right there.
Ah.
And that is my wife, Julie, who was one of the producers of the
Yeah,
show.
she was one of our
working on that
producers.
video. Yeah.
So she was your boss, basically.
She was my boss. She's always the boss.
Well,
I mean, it
okay.
doesn't matter whether we're doing the show.
So how did you meet Julie?
I met Julie when we were working on the show together.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep. And my granddaughter was here, and so we were in one of the videos, and that's us hanging out with Barney or Carey, however you want to look at it.
I bet your granddaughter thought you were the coolest. Or not.
She
Maybe?
did then. She's 12 now,
Oh,
so
so
she
see that
doesn't think I'm as
interesting?
cool now
Yeah.
about that. But she really enjoyed it. She had a lot of fun, and it was fun having some kids Barney age, you know, growing up. I have some older kids, which one of them, my son was younger, and he kind of into Barney, and I took him to the Day in the Park when it opened up, you know, and he loved it and had a great time. So it's fun to see the kids' reaction to everything, because it's amazing. It's just amazing. But I was fortunate. I got a real in-depth understanding quickly, you know, of it from Cheryl, from doing the tours. I spent a lot of time with Dennis DeShazer, you know, in the beginning, talking about what they wanted to do and where they were going with it. So it really was beneficial for me. And then it just came all-consuming, you know.
Well, when I first started talking to Carey about this, and of course our executive producer, Chris Kraft, putting this whole thing together, the thing that you wanted to make clear was how special this time was, that it was wonderful, it was loving, and the things that you felt cannot be replicated. And you're saying the exact same thing.
It was magical, and it was a time, like I said, the kids' reaction to things was just incredible to see that. Big moments for me. I mean, obviously meeting my wife was a big moment too. So that was a big surprise and a great surprise. But you felt like you were working on something that was beneficial and useful and had real purpose. I mean, it really felt that way. It wasn't fun all the time, but it was work. But that's just the way it went. Everybody didn't agree about everything all the time, but we were all working towards an end result that was a good show and great for kids. So, I mean, that there was just passion occasionally about some things to get some things certain ways, but you knew at the end of the day that's what it was all about. So.
Well, and we were talking about that because mine was fun most of the time because I was in the big purple costume that kids love. So for me, it was, but there were all of these people, and this is what I was telling you about, that you see how passionate they are, you see how much they love it as much as I do, and how hard they worked to put this together. So I was in every episode, obviously. You know, not every cast member in the TV show is in it every week, but I'm in every week. And so I'm getting scripts and music, you know, for the shows coming up. And I always remember I couldn't wait to get the music because it dictated the whole show.
Yeah.
What fun songs are we going to have to learn and dance and all of that? So I always, like the scripts too. The scripts were great, but the music, because that's what Barney was about, all the dancing and the kids singing, as you can see us doing Raindrops. And so I always remember looking forward to the music and you know, some of these songs like Mr. Knickerbocker that was so popular.
That's the one I don't know. How does it go? You've got to remember it.
Oh, I remember it, but I thought
It was kind of like
start
almost
singing
like a
it.
rap thing. It was like, hey, Mr. Knickerbocker, boppity bop. I like the way that you boppity bop. I like the way that you boppity bop with your hands. So it had these motions for the kids to do it.
And it allowed them to do it. But he would, depending on the show, there'd be different versions of it, which I always thought was fun. That we would change it up in different. He changed different arrangements, which was always fun.
It made it fun for me too, because I like to kind of mix it up and try some different things now and then and stuff. So it was a lot of fun. Only thing that I felt bad about all you guys is that they'd get this rehearsal tape. The rehearsal tape is me singing the songs. So I figured that was torture most of the time. It was torture for me to do them. I know it had to be torture to listen to them all the time.
No, because you're really listening to.
And every once in a while, I'd throw a little surprise in there for you.
You would.
Such as?
I would kind of get it jazzy and make it completely not like I'd start singing like a rock singer or something all of a sudden, just to make sure they were listening.
Yes.
Now, see, originally they were cassette tapes. And
They were cassette tapes.
Do you have any of those left?
Somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure there are some around. And then we went to CDs when CDs came out. But
Right.
I could tell who listened to their rehearsal tape because we recycled them. So if it was just at the beginning, I knew nobody listened to that, So I could tell when I got it back, and one of my assistants would say, "Yeah, I got it back, and I don't think so-and-so listened to it because it was all back at the beginning when I got it. It looked like it'd never been used."
Well, now Carey had mentioned this too, how the people who are contacting you, not
Yes.
only fans but former Barney people,
Absolutely.
and you're going to be hearing, I'm sure, from a lot of people too. So here's what I need to know: is there like a secret handshake or something to make sure that you all are the right people? Because someone could come up and say, "Hey, you don't remember me? I was the kid in the back row." I mean, isn't there some way to make sure that?
No, I mean, you can tell because if someone starts talking about it, they're going to be excited about it. They're going to know certain things. I was in Washington, D.C. I was actually on Capitol Hill one time, and I was part of a contingency that went around to talk to senators and representatives about, it had to do with royalty issues and things like that. So sometimes we would meet with the senators, sometimes we'd meet with the senator's aide, just depending on how busy they were. So I was there, and I was there with Lyle Lovett and Paul Williams, which just was incredible, just to do that all day, and several other ASCAP writers. When you write music for television and things like that, you'll be part of an association called ASCAP. So we're meeting with different people. So we're in this congressman's office, and we're meeting with the congressman's aide, and someone goes, "Hey, did you know that Joe, used to do the music for Barney? Actually, still doing a little bit there. Does the music for Barney?" And he got this kind of weird look on his face. And I thought, uh-oh, what's going to happen now? And he goes, "Well, I was actually on one of the shows."
Oh my!
And he was an extra on one of the shows that were done.
See, they're everywhere.
So the rest of the day, I was that guy. They'd say,
Right.
"You're that guy." Every time we'd go somewhere, somehow a word got around, and they'd say, "Oh yeah, you're that guy."
Well, I think Joe and I both. I was talking to a gentleman earlier today, and he was telling me about meeting this gentleman who created a new product. It's a shoe that involves new tech. And he said, "Well, and he used to be on the Barney show. I think his name was Reese." And I said, "Yeah, and his sister Molly." That immediately lets them know that and I know you're in the same thing. They'll ask you questions, and you can not only answer them, but expand on them.
See, it's that secret code.
And since it was done here, and I mean in Texas, and you're in Texas, you're going to run into people. I do some teaching now, piano and things like that. And I'll get a student now and then who their mother will say, "Yeah, I know so-and-so who worked on Barney," that kind of thing. So it happens all the time. And like I said, I get emails from, kids that have grown up now, and, they're asking questions about, that song, the whatever it was, they'll ask about a song or something.
Well, and Nancy, I took Chris out one night to go listen to Joe
Oh, okay.
perform.
Yeah.
Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Are
You
you still
remember that?
performing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So we can. Do you ever do? Does anyone ever request a Barney song?
No. And a lot of what I do are corporate events and things like that. But no, I've never had anybody request a Barney
Oh,
song.
just wait. Just wait.
That's okay. That's okay. That'd be a lot of fun.
But speaking of questions, I have so many questions, but I know that the people who are watching and listening and viewing this, they're going to have a lot of questions too. What is there one question that you're always asked that you're tired of it? Tired of that question?
I mean, a lot of people will say, these children's songs and stuff. How do you come up with that stuff? How do you get those ideas? And I actually brought a picture to show you of how I come up with.
Well,
these
there
ideas.
you go. Let's look.
And that's it.
Oh, wow.
I just sit around and think about stuff.
Yeah.
For the most part.
It's kind of Van Gogh-ish there.
Yeah, it's just I call it
I like
just
the-
Joe ponders, and that's how I come up with them. I just sit around and think about them, and then if I'm on an airplane, I grab a vomit bag, anything I can, and just start writing.
Nancy,
it down.
I've seen that face many times over the
So
years.
I do
Many
that
times.
a lot, where I just think about stuff. you know, and that's kind of
And
how
that's
it
where,
went.
and look what happens. And then we have
And then there's
Tails.
Purple Tails to talk about.
So I'll
there
tell
it
you what.
is.
In fact, we've got our, all this stuff is coming out now. I think I want to make sure with Chris, it's info@purpletailspodcast.com. Is that right?
Yes.
That we can.
It is.
We can.
I
can send
don't recall.
questions.
Info.
I'll have to check my recollection.
Ask
Yes,
your attorneys.
It is, Nancy. Yes.
Okay, yes. info@purpletailspodcast.com. I want to get some more questions of all the guests we have. So, I mean, I feel like I know there's so much we still have to talk about.
It was lots of years, so a lot of things happened. So,
Well, you'll
I mean,
come
yeah.
back.
Of
Will you,
course.
will you let
Absolutely.
him
Of
come
course.
back?
Oh, of
It's up to
course.
Carey.
Yeah,
Carey's-
what I'm planning
Carey's
on
the one.
doing is I'm just going to find out when you're doing these, and then I'm just going to show up in the middle of it when you got guests, and I'll just come in and hang out with you guys.
Well, the only way that he comes back is that he has to do another song with me again. We'll have to sing and dance again.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Thank
We'll
you.
work out like an act or
Yes,
something that we can put
yes.
together.
And Nancy, this is very cool. I've done photo shoots with Joe also.
That's
for
right,
his
'cause
music. We've done some photo shoots.
Okay.
Yeah, with his music. So we've done some work together too. So
So we're still in touch and,
We are.
and doing things and stuff. So that's it's fun. It's a
We
lot of
are.
fun. And I'm still working on music with people. I produce CDs for people. I'm working with a guy right now. It's going to be a great CD. It's a lot of fun. Full-length CDs. His name's Brian Whittington. It's going to come out. You're going to love it.
Listen to that. Acoustic? What is he? Is it guitar player?
It's kind of bluesy
Okay.
country, kind of sounding.
Ooh, okay.
And I think it's going to do real well. So I do maybe one or two of those a year, as I'm still hacking away music, and I'll write for something now and then.
Well, were you a drummer? Was that it?
no keyboards.
Oh, keyboards.
Yeah.
He can play the keyboards if you thought about putting him on some of
Oh
those.
goodness.
You know what? Maybe next time I'll bring a piano in, and we can play some tunes for you.
Absolutely.
We can jam. That's what we'll do.
There you go.
It'll be a
It's
Barney jam. Exactly.
A Barney jam. I think.
Well, and won't it be fun when his wife comes in and
Oh, absolutely.
When the boss comes in,
Yeah,
then
you
you
can
can
ask about
and then
it.
you can
Finally,
find out
we can get.
how truthful I was.
That's
today.
right. All the sleeping and
Yeah,
all that
yeah.
kind of stuff. Okay. Well,
he said he worked all the time.
Yeah,
That's right, yeah,
exactly.
right.
I can't get him to take the garbage out,
Right.
but yeah, I mean that kind of thing.
Anything you want to leave us with at this point? Any good thoughts?
My last thought is just that I just felt fortunate to work on all these years, and it was a wonderful thing. Yes, it was a great way to make a living, but it was just a great way to spend time, to do anything, and it was very rewarding. And I'd do it again at the drop of a hat. I had a lot of fun doing it.
As sincere as Carey has been since I've known him, I believed him, but I am becoming even more and more and more of a believer the more I meet all of your colleagues and these people who put on the show.
And you got lots of people to bring on because there were lots of people.
They are, and they're my family. It's Joe and I went to lunch the other day, and it's just like I just seen him yesterday.
And you guys should have Julie and Patty on together.
I've talked to Patty. and that's
Okay, Julie
exactly
and
what.
Patty, let's remind us again.
Julie's the voice of Baby Bob.
Oh, Baby Bob, the original, the first one.
Yeah, and Patty's the voice of BJ. So-
Oh.
And it's what Patty said. We need to be on with Julie. and
Exactly, because that's going to be like a whole performance in itself. You'll
So
have-
we
It's
don't
going to
even-
be an extended.
you guys
show.
could probably just leave and just let them have at it,
Yeah.
and then it
Okay.
could just go.
Yeah,
That's a deal. We'll set that one up, Carey.
It's working on it.
Okay.
We're working on it.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you for having me here. This has been
No,
great.
thank you, Joe.